Good afternoon. Happy Sunday. It's History Happy Hour with the Rye Historical Society, and we are continuing in our reading of the history of Rye, New Hampshire by Parsons. I'm going to be reading from chapter 10 today, which is Town Affairs. And if you happen to be following along, that's on page 126. Like all of the chapters, there are a number of lists as we go on. So in order to try to get through most of the chapter or the entire chapter today, we'll get the gist of some of the areas and not read every single name and every single date in the lists. So with that said, I'm Debbi Toohey. I'm a board member with the Rye Historical Society, and welcome to Happy Hour History. And I'm going to actually have a sip because my rye, excuse me. Settle in, and here we go. Town Affairs. Lands. 200 years ago, in the days when our ancestors were contending with the hard facts of life and striving to make a home in the wilderness, there were no highways. All land belonged to the colony in common, every family having its rights, and all byways laid out were for the common benefit. In those days, the herdsman blew his horn in the morning and, gathering the cattle, drove them to the common pasture, returning them at night. In 1640, 17 persons, among them whom were Anthony Brackett and William Barry, made a deed of 50 acres of land in Portsmouth for a glebe, or parsonage. In 1649, there was granted unto Anthony Brackett a lot between Robert Puddington's and William Barry's at the head of the sandy beach, Fresh River, at the west bank thereof. William Seavey had given him 3 acres at a town meeting held at Strawberry Bank, which is in Portsmouth, in 1652. Quotation marks, "It is granted by common consent that William Barry shall have a lot upon the neck of land upon the south side of the Little River at Sandy Beach. Land was granted by the town of Portsmouth to William Seavey in 1652. Coming by the south side of the Mill Creek at the head of Hodges Land and run west to White Rock, 50 acres, the same laid out to his son William Seavey in 1721. At a town meeting held in Portsmouth in 1653, a committee was chosen to lay out the lands unto the people of Sandy Beach, viz., quote unquote, unto William Barry 6 acres of meadow unto his house that is by William Seavey's, to Anthony Brackett 30 acres upland adjoining unto his house and 20 acres of meadow, to Thomas Seavey 8 acres of meadow and 8 acres of upland, to Francis Rand 8 acres of meadow and 20 acres of upland for a lot, to James Johnson 20 acres of meadow, also to William Barry from the Little Creek next to Goodman Brackett's so much as shall amount to 10 acres of meadow, between said creek and creek's mouth, and 4 acres of land where he hath already plowed." And so it goes on. In 1660, more land was appropriated at Sandy Beach and the names. At a town meeting held in March 1st, 1720 through 1721 at Rye in Newcastle, Jotham Odiorn was chosen moderator and Daniel Greenough clerk. They voted that William Seavey, William Wallace, Jotham Odiorn, John Leach, John Sherbin, Samuel Brackett, and Theodore Atkinson be a committee to lay out the common lands of this town in as short a time as can be conveniently done, and that they be laid out according to the town rates in the year 1708. Land was laid out as follows, and I'll be cutting short through here as well probably. To Jotham Odiorn, hi everybody. In case you're jumping in late, we are reading from chapter 10, Town Affairs, page 127 in the History of Rye, New Hampshire, and welcome. Noted that William Seavey, William Wallace, Jotham Odiorn, John Leach, John Sherbin, Samuel Brackett, and Theodore Atkinson, be a committee to lay out the land. The land was laid out as follows to Jotham Ordeorn, 152 acres, which contained his own right and Shad Walton's, Mrs. Weymouth's, Thomas Payne's, John Card's, and Edward Randall's, as appears by their deeds to said Ordeorn. To Thomas Rand and Thomas Barnes, Jr., 24 acres, commencing at the highway run 20 and a half rods by it, then northwest to Portsmouth line, 192 rods, then northeast, 20 and a half rods, then 192 rods to start by the road. So we continue on, and as I say, this 1722, more land is laid out. And actually, interestingly here, there are several widows mentioned, Widow Oz and Widow Perkins, and I love this name, Shadrock Bell, in different lots. One track ran to Sandy Beach, Old Road. Continuing, 1723, land is laid out, and they begin at Stake and Road east to Rag Hole, 106 rods. Then east 30 rods to Rag Hole Highway, and the remainder of Hodges Common Right and Robert Jordan's being 18 acres above makes their quantity 25 acres. Voted in town meeting. In November 1739, an article was inserted in the warrant to see whether, that's W-H, whether you will buy, B-Y-E, a town stock of the dimension as the law directs. No vote was recorded. During the year 1750, the records show that a leather seater, which in parentheses is a sealer, was appointed. And in 1764, the first poor person was let out to the lowest bidder. I'm not quite sure what all of that means. In 1761, the town voted to give widow Hannah Dolbeer 300 pounds old tenor in part of her great charge or expense by reason of smallpox. An article was inserted in the warrant for the March meeting in 1777 to know whether they will vote that no tavern keeper or retailer shall sell spirituous liquors in this parish on the Sabbath or Lord's Day. No vote recorded. Voted in 1783 that John Foy's rats, which are rates, be abated with others. During the year 1794, it was that there shall be no seaweed hauled up by night. Noon should be hauled up before daylight, and noon after daylight is down in the evening, forfeiting a fine of 3 pounds. In 1801, it was voted to pay Michael Doughton Goss $14.50 to collect the taxes. A town meeting was called in 1816 owing to the great sickness. In the warrant for the town meeting of 1820, the following articles were inserted. Several of the inhabitants of the town in 1820, taking into consideration the circumstances of the town and being alarmed in view of the number of vices and discord prevalent among us, such as profane swearing, intemperance, gambling, profanation of the Sabbath, which in their opinion serve very much to injure the reputation, morals, and interest not only of individuals and families, but of the town at large, are therefore convinced of the necessity and propriety of some measures being adopted by the inhabitants of this town in order to check, or as far as may be, these prevailing vices and disorders. No servants or minors to be trusted for any ardent spirits without leave of their parents or guardians or masters, and likewise that they should shut up their houses and stores at 9 o'clock in the winter and 10 o'clock in the summer, except when the town or public business may require a longer time, or when young persons of both sexes may occasionally meet together for singing or civil amusement, and then not to keep unseasonable hours. To see if the town will give directions to the selectmen not to grant licenses to any persons as taverners or storekeepers for retailing spirituous liquors unless they come under the above obligation. Voted the above resolve as it now stands. In 1834, the town voted to build a wharf at the harbor. An article was inserted in the warrant for the meeting held in 1836 to see if the town will change the name of Rye to that of Rockville or Greenville, or any name they see proper to adopt. It was voted to postpone the article to change the name of Rye to that of Rockville or Greenville indefinitely. At the same meeting, it was voted that a committee shall be nominated by the selectmen to purchase a town farm. Captain Samuel Jennes, Captain John Clark, and Samuel Walker were chosen on said committee and authorized and empowered purchase a farm for the town. In 1838, the town voted to purchase Lieutenant Amos Seavey's farm and pay him the sum of $4,000 on condition that he leave the manure on the same and give possession in the course of this month, and that the selectmen take a deed of said Seavey's farm as soon as convenient. The town passed the following vote in 1842: that all persons that do not pay their taxes shall be sent to the town farm to work it out. During the year 1866, it was voted that the selectmen see to the boys that are running up and down the road. The records do not specify what road was meant. The records in 1869 show that the town voted to sell the town farm. It was voted in 1886 that the thanks of the town be presented to Aaron Rand for the faithful manner in which he has shown for 20 years performed his duties as collector of taxes. Pound. The first pound, probably built about the time the town was incorporated, was made of logs. The following, taken from the original copy, shows that at early date, the pound keepers had animals to impound for trespassing or going at large in violation of law. 1736, July ye 9th. Mr. Jonathan Marden, Sir, please to deliver Mr. Job Jennes, Mayor, out of pound to John Jennes, he paying you for having the care. I am yours to sarve, Richard Parsons. In 1782, the old log pond was evidently in a dilapidated condition, for at the March meeting in that year, the town voted to build a stone pound, 32 square feet within walls. There was considerable opposition to building a stone pound, and on the following June, the town voted to build a log pound, 22 square feet within walls, and the log pound was probably built. In 1803, the town voted to build a pound of stone. The next year, the town voted to build the pound where the old one stands, 37 feet long each way, 6 feet high, thick at the bottom, and 1.5 foot at the top. It was located slightly to the east of the present Christian church, and it cost $257.25, and would have answered very well for a fortress in those days. The old pound was bid off by Edmund Johnson for $4.10. In 1859, a petition was circulated to have the pound removed, and the town voted to remove and rebuild the same. In 1859, it was taken down and removed to leave Marden's pasture, and about 20 years later, it was destroyed. Common. It is not known just when the common or training field was laid out, but probably at a very late date. The Continental Militia received their first lessons in discipline and field exercises on the common. And later, it was customary for the state militia to drill there. And some of our citizens remember well when the captain gave the order for his men to fire their guns while on the double quick around the elms in front of Isaac D. Rand's. In 1798, the town voted, "The selectmen may sell the training field." It was not sold, and 8 years later, the town enlarged the grounds by purchasing more land at a cost of 67.50 cents. Gun house. In 1821, the town voted to build a gun house 14 feet long and 10 feet wide, and that the gun house be put on the town's land near the pound. It was located just east of the present Christian church. During the year 1853, the old gun house was sold at auction and bid off by Orrin Drake for the sum of $4. Sheep. In the year 1779, the town voted that the rams in this parish be confined by the owners thereof from the 1st of September until the last of October next. And if any ram be found loose in that time, he that takes him up shall notify the owner thereof. And if he refuses to pay the charges thereof, the person who took up said ram may sell said ram in 8 days after proper notice is given. Each owner probably had an earmark for his sheep, and it was his duty to notify the town clerk of the earmark used by him for marking his cattle and for sheep. And it must be remembered that all the stock was turned out on the commons together, and the town clerk was required to keep a record of the different earmarks. Here are a few sheep marks as recorded on the town records in 1794. William Barry's earmarks slit in the end of each ear and top of left ear. Jonathan Locke Jr.'s earmark in the underside of each ear. Nathaniel Marden's earmark is a swallow's tail in the left ear and 2 slits in same. Jennesstown. The township was granted by Massachusetts in 1735 to Thomas Stevens and others, many of whom were residents of Amesbury in that province. It was called Number 1 and New Amesbury. The Masonian proprietors claimed the territory after the settlement of the province line and granted it to 76 men March 14, 1749. These grantees were nearly all residents of Rye and Newcastle, and as many of them bore the name of Jennes, the town was called Jennesstown and New Rye. It was incorporated by the governor and council August 30th, 1774, and Governor Wentworth named it Warner for his intimate friend, Colonel Jonathan Warner of Portsmouth. Jurors. The first record of jurors was April 22nd, 1758. 1 grand and 10 petite jurors to serve at the Superior and Court of Common Pleas at Portsmouth. Liberty Pole. The Liberty Pole on the Common at the center was erected when General Franklin Pierce was nominated for the presidency in 1852. The stick came out of the Boutwell, wrecked at Ragged Neck. Remember, Ragged Neck is just north of the Rye Harbor. And it was wrecked in April 8th, 1851. The pole was blown down January 25th, 1874. Fairs. The secretary of the Agricultural Board of 1876 through 77 says the first fair was held in Rye 150 years ago. Okay, here's where we get into major lists, and I'm going to do kind of like the high amounts and maybe the low amounts and kind of skim because we go through numerous years here. And I'm going to take a sip before I start that, and I suggest you as well. town accounts, and etc. Tax, 1701. A town rate was assessed by the selectmen of and for the town of Newcastle to be collected for paying debts, ye 15th May 1701, to be paid in 3 months. Excuse me. And the columns are listed as pounds and shillings. So we go through Huff, Sherburne, Lear, Hodge, Seavey. I believe William Seavey, who was taxed at £3, 6 shillings, was the high in this list, yes. And the low Seavey, we've got a number of Seaveys and Rands, brackets, Barry. The low, Barry, Hunking, Pickering, Walker, Dowes. The low was John Dowes at 2 shillings. And we finish up with Barry, Foss, Marden, Wallace, Odiorn and Son, Randall, Wallace, Seavey, Locke, Allard, Dowers, and Marden. And this is noted by Benjamin Seavey, Constable, 1701. Excuse me. 23 years later, tax, 1724. The following tax was collected in the town of Newcastle in 1724. Little Harbor side referred to what is now within the limits of Rye, east of Rye Harbor. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. We have brackets and Barry, Rand, CV. The high tax, okay, we're in ones. The high tax in 1724 was Samuel Brackett, £2, 14 shillings. And the low tax, which would be shillings only, Actually, there's some people in this list that weren't taxed for whatever reason, but the low tax is William Barry at 15 shillings. We have Seavey, Mace, Dowerst, Rand, Watson, Payne. I'm trying to look for some new names that we haven't mentioned. William Marden and 2 sons. Odiorn, Payne, Webster, Seavey Jr., Jethro Goss, which is Goss with an E, but then in parentheses Goss the way we know Goss. There's a Knowles. Christopher, there's a name, new name. Christopher Scadgel, Scadgel, and place. William Gammon. And Rye province rates for the year 1728. The high goes on a lot of. Okay, the province rates are lower, so shillings. I think the high is Samuel Wallace at 19 shillings and 8 pence. D is pence. So, you know, the pounds is L, and then shillings, S period, and D period stands for pence. The low in this list is 2.6. There are a number of them at 2 shillings, 6 pence. Again, looking for any new names. There's Hasty, Daniel Hasty, Hastey. That's a new name. Shute is in there, Shute. Endorsed on same, I have cast up this list and make £38, 1 shilling, and 0 pence. And the list for Rye Parish rates, 1728. So that previous list again was Rye Province rates for 1728. This is Rye Parish rates, 1728 list. And that one has a high of £3, 10 pence to Hezekiah Jennison Sons. And the low The low was John Jackson at 5 pence. And at the amount on the back of the list, so when it was summed up, it was 112 pounds, 3 shillings, 10 pence. Most of those from Colonel Hunking and after non-residents. This list, the high is William Seavey at 4 pounds, 4 shillings, no pence, and a low of 14 shillings, I believe. Parish tax, 1738. Samuel Brackett tax, son and widow, rate for finishing the parish house in 1738. 2 pounds, 18 shillings, 4 pence. His province and parish rate, 6 pounds. I'm not going to read all of those. I'm just going to read what they are taxing for. I think that'll be faster because the lists go on again. His province and parish. John Garland's parish rate in 1739 for meeting house, 2 pounds, etc. His province and parish tax, 5 pounds. Francis Locke, province and parish rates, 1740. 7 pounds, 13 shillings, 9. So now we have years of taxes. There's a Toll, there's a new name now. Jonathan Toll, Towle, 1742. Perkins, first time I've seen Perkins and Son, 1745. 10 pounds, 2 shillings. And William R. Jr. Elkins, there's a new name. Henry Elkins, 1753. 16 pounds, 11 shillings. And this was authenticated, I guess, by Joseph Brown, Constable. Copy of the account of the selectmen for the year 1739. The account of the selectmen hath brought in for the year 1739 to the committee chosen, viz. Pound paid to the Reverend Mr. Parsons for his salary, 420 pounds old tenor. Paid to the schoolmaster, 60 pounds. Paid to the treasury, 107 pounds. Paid for hauling the wood, the parish wood, 55 pounds. Pounds to Joseph Brown, 27, and 27 pounds to Joseph Philbrook. Paid mending seats of the meeting house, 6 pounds. Paid for mending the garden fence, 3 pounds, 10 shillings. Paid for glass and also for tavern expenses. Drinks? 5 pounds. Paid for sweeping the meeting house. Paid for mending the parish fence. And it is charged 10 shillings for paper, and charged 3 pounds for serving, and 3 pounds for the constable fees, and being added up makes 702 pounds, 19 shillings and 5 pence, whereof the sum raised is but 701 pounds, 8 shillings and 6 pence, due from the parish to the selectmen, 1 pound, 10 shillings and 11 pence. I don't understand what J&O is. Maybe Jonathan Garland Jr. had not paid 2 pounds, 10 shillings, as also Amos Rand has not paid 1 pound and 14 shillings. New emission tax about 1776 or 1778. And I'm going to make a side note. I looked this up. I was totally confounded as to what in the late 1700s, 1776, an emission tax could be. So after about a half an hour of searching, I found out that The United States Congress financed the War for Independence, 1775 to 1783, by issuing paper money, the Continental dollar. From 1775 through 1779, new emissions totaled 200 million in face value and accounted for 77% of congressional spending. No new emission occurred after November 1779. The traditional history of the Continental dollar treats it as a fiat currency. As outstanding emissions accumulated, the Continental dollar depreciated and prices rose. In 1781, having run its course as an inflation tax, it was abandoned. And I didn't footnote where I got that. I apologize, because it just took forever to find something what the emissions tax was about. So under a new emissions tax about 1776 or 1778, we have more lists, and it's the following people lived from the center of town to Breakfast Hill, and it lists all of these people and their tax. And I'm just going to read the areas because it's, unless there's a new name, and I don't see any new names in that list going from the center of town to Breakfast Hill. And then the following list, they lived on Garland Road. And then there's the following lived on the road leading to Locke's Neck. Most of them are Locks, as you would imagine. There is a Rand who's living there. The following lived on the road leading from Daniel Webster Philbrooks by Abram Perkins to the South Fish Houses. And a number of Locks. I see Genesis, a lot of Genesis. And there's a really nice picture. Let's see if I can figure out where the camera thing is. Oh yeah, right there. There's a nice picture of bathing at Rye Beach, which I actually saw some people doing today, so I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. If you can see that, maybe. I'm giving it my best try. There you go. Anyway. The following lived on the South Road to Chelsea's Four Corners. There's that list. We're still taxing the emissions tax. The following resided from the center to Sandy Beach. And residents from the center schoolhouse through East Rye. And then this list is the following lived on, quote unquote, Grove Road. And David Locke resided in Drake's Lane. And I'm running out of time. Here it is. If you're willing to hang in, I've got just a couple more. I'm going to edit here. Taxes about 1777. So what they're listing here for taxes is columns. One is for head. I'm assuming that's somewhat like the head of household or adults. One column is for house. One column is for horses. One column is for oxen. Another column for cows. This one totally confounds me. A column for 3 years, a column for 2 years, and the land in acres. So that goes on quite a long list, List of the rates for the parish of Rye for the year 1782. That would be the same columns, similar column setup. And getting close. Receipts and expenditures for the year 1833. Paid the county tax, $129.06. Paid for schooling, pounds, 412 pounds. Repairs on East Schoolhouse. Repairs on Center Schoolhouse, much more expensive. That was 6 pounds. The other one was just shillings, 52 shillings. West Schoolhouse, South Schoolhouse. South School lot and expenses, $17.60. Superintending school committees, £7. pounds. Military expenses, 31 and 58. For expenses of the mill road, 72 and 6. This is a good one. For expenses killing crows, 18 pounds and 60 pence. Expense for killing foxes, 3 pounds. Ebenezer Taylor for the widow Sally Rand for 1832, 5. Sally Rand for 1833, 17 and 82. For clothing for John Saunders, 12 and 98. Support of Joseph Tucker, 38 and 80. Support of John Mace, 48 and 93. Support of Mercy Shapley, 15 and 42. Joseph Crooms for 2 children of E. Mao, M-O-W, 29 pounds. Support clothing, Betsy Mao, 27. Funeral expenses, Josiah M. Batchelder, 11 pounds. Doctor's bill, support of the Masons, support and clothing for Patience Saunders, support and clothing, and it's a list of Benjamin Lear, Saunders, Hall, Jarvis, Downs, Randall, spelled Rendall. Continuing on, doctoring of the poor, 16 pounds. Wood for widow Polly Philbrook, excuse me, 10 pounds. House lot for Doe, so I'm not sure if that's daughter. Wood for widow Jane Foss, wood for Mahitable Foss, wood for Sally Shapley, wood for and candles for Meeting House, repairs of candles for the Meeting House, wood and candles for Little Meeting House, ringing and tolling the bell, repairs Pine Street Bridge in 1832, repairs for Pine Street Bridge 1833, repairs for Joseph Seavey's Bridge, repairs for White Rock Bridge, Locks Mill Bridge, Brown Mill Bridge, the appraiser's bill, the inventory book and copying, 75 pence. Recording inventory, Ichabod Bartley's bill on Hampton Cause over 4 years. Maybe that's the causeway. Other expenses on Hampton Cause, 20 pounds. Guide boards and repairing the pound. Examining road to E. Philbrook's. Selectmen's services of 18 pounds. Letting out the poor at Stratham. Letting out the poor. Examining road to West W. Sleepers. Warning jurors. Town clerk services, paid collecting taxes. Cloth for the poor, tools and powder blasting rocks, 3 pounds, 72 shillings. Collecting paupers' money, 1832 through 1833. Advertising town paupers, that was only 1 pound. Stationery, Thomas J. Parsons' note, which was 58 pounds and 29. Abatements in 1833 of 8 pounds and 79. Expenses Olive Mao complaint and committing William Randall to gaol. Doesn't sound good. Going to Hampton for Joseph Tucker and money on hand, 28 pounds 47. Totaling £1,750 and 67. Amount of notes due to the town, £155 50. Money on hand, 28 and 47. So the total of £183 and 97. List of money due the town by note, due from Nathan Knowles for balance tax list, who's 46 pounds plus. Due from Thomas J. Parsons, 75 pounds. etc. Sam Berry and J.M. Caswell, 25 pounds. Joseph L. Locke and Reuben Randall, 9 pounds, for a total of 155 pounds 50. Notes for literary fund. We're almost at the end. Due from Samuel J. Locke, 35. William Sleeper, 51. Nathan Knowles, 53. Ebenezer Levitt, 53. Joseph Trevethan, 39. Just DO, so I'm not sure what that stands for, but 50. And money on hand, 28. Literary fund received and collected, 312 pounds, 15. Received from the state, 44 pounds, 29. Received from Joseph Philbrick, Trefethen, Locke, Ebenezer Levitt, interest. William Sleeper, Joseph Trefethen, for a total of 152 pounds and 1. Money received by the selectmen, raised by tax, 1,522 pounds and 11, and received 1,475 and 99. Received of Joseph Caswell and S. Berry, 50 pounds. Received of the state for crows and foxes, 17 and 25. Received for Old Plank, 1 and 44. Received from the county, pauper money, 1832, 64 and 35. Received from the court for licenses, 4. Received from Hampton, costs of the court. Received from T.J. Parsons for Judith Shapley. Received for John Saunders. Received for the county for paupers in 1833, 61 pounds. Received from Nathan Knowles for note, 13 pounds plus. For interest for literary fund taken, 12 pounds. For a total of 1,750 pounds and 67. Due Captain Samuel Jennis Jr. from the town, 60 pounds. Balance in favor of the town, 123 and 97. For a total of 183 pounds, 97. The selectmen were Amos Seavey, Simon Jennis Jr., and Charles Green. And again, that was selectmen in 1833. We certify that we have examined the selectmen's accounts and find them correct and properly vouched. Samuel Jennis Jr., Ira Brown, auditors. And that concludes chapter 10 of today's history happy hour. And so thank you for hanging in there with me. I'm going to have another sip. And I'm going to suggest, since Father's Day is coming up next Sunday, that if you're looking for a great gift for your father or husband or grandfather or any other man in your life, or somebody that acts like a father, or somebody you just love, we have at the Historical Museum in our gift shop these beautiful Rye, New Hampshire settled 1623 mugs that hold about 10 ounces, and on the bottom they are dated. These are for the 400, celebrating 400 years. And we have not only the blue-green, we also have the beige tan with speckles that are just lovely, and they are only $25, and they're handmade from a local potter. And if you were looking for a gift, you can email us at info@ryenewhampshirehistoricalsociety.org or contact me personally. I'm Debbi Toohey. You might have my contact information. If not, I'd be happy to meet somebody socially distanced, properly masked, if you're looking to purchase a nice gift for your person for celebration for next week. Thank you for hanging in with us. Glad you're here. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe. Goodbye.